the stars, the sky. It's all a gigantic hoax, a lie.
The sky of Teyvat being fake. It's an idea we first heard in a limited time event near the game's launch, and one that has again recently resurfaced. If that's truly the case, then that must mean something lies beyond it. Well, let's cut to the chase. This is not a lore video, and I think it's safe to say that most already know that going beyond it isn't possible. But let's muse over the mystery in a different way. If the sky is fake, then wouldn't that mean that there's a point at which it stops? Should one rise high into the sky, will they eventually hit a ceiling? And if they don't hit a ceiling, what happens if you just keep going up? This isn't my first foray into trying this. Isn't even my second. Back in version 1.0, I ventured into the sky with Klee. A humble attempt it was, the outcome of which garnered a nice view and a 90-second plunge attack to reach the ground. The second attempt happened in the 2.0s. With help from the Wave Rider glitch, I lifted Xiao into space, caught a butterfly, tested if the Paimon barrier reached such heights, and then had him plunge for nearly 12 minutes to splash down off the coast of Inazuma. Now that we have some background, let's take those previous tests and multiply them exponentially. The method of testing will be the return to photo mode glitch of version 3.2. The site used will be Wangshu. To be exact, this ramp-like formation nearby. Our space cadet, appropriately, will be Shinka no and Heizou. After all, who better to uncover mysteries of the unknown than a famous detective? By running into this ramp with the glitch active, he'll be repelled off the surface and launched with quite a bit of speed. Now to lock the glitch into place and wait a very long time. Well, it was a long time for me anyways. Let's speed it up and skip this part, shall we? I set this up before bed, and after a good night's rest and breakfast, it was time to see the results. The total time spent flying up, 10 hours. He's shaking. Some turbulence, eh? This is good. It meant one of two things. One, perhaps he's shaking because he hit a ceiling, but the game is still trying to force him higher. Or two, something very interesting might happen if number one is false, based on what I've seen in other video games. To reach a conclusion on either, another test would be needed. If I've hit a ceiling, it's invisible and I have no way to tell from up here. The time required to reach the ground is the only measurement available to test for such a ceiling. Space Cadet Detective Shinka no and Heizou, prepare to add Halo Jumper to your list of titles. 10 hours of flying straight up. Assuming that wasn't a ceiling that he hit just a few hours after starting, this fall could take a while, huh? But how long? Feel free to take a guess as we speed things up. Wait, that dot down there, is that Celestia? It has to be, right? It is! Kind of looks like Devalin's arena from straight above. We explored Celestia in another video, but man does the placement seem incredibly warped due to the height involved here. We're above Wangshu, but Celestia should be here on the map. Then again, we did see how the floating palace grows and shrinks in relation to player distance. It's like an optical illusion, but I digress. Look at how the moon's glow is stretching like that. Really odd, but also really neat. The final minute of falling is by far the coolest. And that is Splashdown, just shy of 90 minutes. In other words, Heizou was over 7 times the height of Xiao in my test with the Wave Rider glitch. Don't get too comfortable, Heizou. We're immediately sending you up again for round 2. Mission control, we have liftoff. Now then, let's get serious. And by serious, I of course mean ridiculous. You can probably tell by the speed of the footage that, oh yes, Heizou has his sights set much, much higher this time. I want to know if that ceiling exists. And if it doesn't, then I want to make sure he goes high enough for the interesting thing I mentioned to take place. So this time, it's not 10 hours, neither 15 nor 20, but a whole day and a half, over 30 hours of climbing. My poor computer. I left the character visible so that we can see exactly when he encounters turbulence, and what gradual effects it may have on him. That's very concerning. Okay, so his head has detached from his neck. This is exactly the result I was hoping for. That interesting thing I mentioned is the destruction of the character's model. If we freeze frame this, we can see it much clearer. Speaking of freeze frames, let's just pause for a moment and... Oh my. What is that?
Doesn't feel so good.
It occurred to me, just as I started to drop, that I might be able to preview other characters' distorted models via the character archive. And boy did I strike nightmare fuel. They look like they're wearing masks. The sky is a lie. That infamous line from Scaramouche and later Dottore. Perhaps we've been interpreting it wrong. It is indeed a fabrication, one that contains a horrific truth. And once the inhabitants pass beyond it, the illusion is broken and we see the people of Teyvat for what they really are. Like Lisa here. Look at that face, those eyes. I can almost hear her saying as she slowly flips through those pages of that book.
Hi, darling. Why not keep me company for a while? I'll take very good care of you.
Not everyone is so terrifying. Klee, for example, just looks like she's having the craziest bad hair day ever seen. Her and the other small characters all appear to be looking up. Oh, but what about Ni? Lou. Still perfection. Barbara gets away mostly intact. Her hair is going crazy like Klee's, but that's about it aside from some oddities when her idle animations begin. Toma has the biggest forehead of all characters now. The stress of Yelan's job must be getting to her, because she's got a bald spot forming. Shinsho looks like he's ready to murder someone for interrupting his book. Let's take a moment to preview more of the nightmare fuel.
Ta-da! No! Oh, fine. Silly churl, Billy churl, silly Billy churl. Ooh.
It's all really strange, isn't it? Another thing I noticed is that, for certain characters who summon an object during their idle animation, like Lisa with her rose, the object is completely unrecognizable, or quite distorted, like Kokomi's fish. Unfortunately, Diluc's hawk remains unchanged. Was really looking forward to the abomination that might have been. Alright, that's characters, but what else might be affected? The character archive uses the in-game models for previews. Isn't there one other thing that does the same? Ah yes, the Living Beings archive. Huh, scrolling across the slimes and hilly churls, all looks to be in order. At least for those two subsets of enemies. Because, well, that's definitely out of the ordinary. My dudes are suffering from the same fate as Heizou. Faces ripped from their bodies. This is just so disturbing, but also hilarious. The Abyss mages have distorted shields. Child's cloak is all jagged. The machines have issues with their glowing eyes, and the pyrohypostasis looks corrupt as the model is rotated. But the treasure hoarders? Nothing compares to the treasure hoarders. The animals got out of this without any notable changes, which is kinda surprising. Okay, what else is messed up? Weapons seemed pretty okay, a little rough around the edges. Artifacts, however, distorted as can be. The game seems to be having trouble displaying rounded edges and straight lines at this height, as even things like constellations are disconnected. I did a single wish from this height as well, thinking perhaps the animation would glitch. It didn't, but I did get lucky and nab Rust, my second time ever getting it across all my accounts. Now for the big question. Why does this distortion happen? That's because of an error with floating point precision, a determinant of object placement in games, which occurs at high distance values. From my understanding, the game has an origin point, 000, in which everything is relative to. The gist is that the position values for parts of the character are losing accuracy because the values are becoming too large, and the game is forced to ditch the fine-tuning that decimal places would bring in order to represent the number. And I'll stop there before I butcher this very complicated subject further. I think it's time we return from this nightmarish land, I mean sky, to begin Heizou's descent. Last time, it took a staggering 90 minutes to reach the ground. Should there not be a ceiling, and I think it's safe to say that he at least went higher than last time given what we've unfortunately had to witness, this fall will take longer. How long will it take for him to reach land? Jot down those guesses now. Eight hours. Wow. So, that ceiling. Don't think it exists. If you're hoping for another splashdown, I must apologize. I didn't want Heizou to drown and trigger a loading screen, which could reset any potential changes to the game caused by the experiment. The character archive still displayed some distortion. However, that was about it, and it's a bit of a bummer, but even that corrected itself in a few moments. Now well, but 8 hours of falling. I wanted something to compare that to, and what better unit of measurement than the Wangshu Inn we've been hanging around and above this whole time. This branch up top is nearly level with the highest point of the inn. By measuring the fall time from here, we'll be able to divide that 8 hours to see how many Wangshu Inns stacked atop one another are needed to reach the height we attained. I'm starting with Windcatcher and will start the count once his descent reaches the branch. This is because falling doesn't immediately reach max speed, 3 seconds. 8 hours 13 minutes is 29,580 seconds. Divide that by 3 and we get 9,860. 9,860 Wangshu Inns stacked. I'm a little bummed I didn't break into 5 digits. Oh well. And with that, this experiment is concluded. We learned a lot. That the inhabitants of Teyvat are all hollow creatures whose faces are masks. that the sky seemingly never ends, and that Genshin Impact most certainly does not have a ceiling. Well, outside of going so high up that the game perhaps crashes. Oh yeah, and Hoyoverse, I'd better see this on the next Teyvat Times, under a category of longest fall or highest height reached. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed and managed to make it through the nightmare fuel of Lisa and all the others, feel free to like and subscribe. There are plenty of other crazy experiments on my channel, among a plethora of other Genshin Impact content. I'm sure you'll find something that piques your interest. This is Musashi, signing off. Till next time.